Hello, I'm Patricio Gonzalez, and today I'm going to present you about the film Even the Rain. This is a critical reflection on social and ethical conflicts. And first of all, I wanna quote an author that says, "Before examining the world, we must examine our thinking." These reflections begins with a simple idea: learning is not just about absorbing information; it is recognizing how that knowledge transforms us. Well, let's begin with Even the Rain. In this reflection, I will analyze the social and ethical conflicts. The film employs a movie within a movie narrative to highlight the continuity of exploitation in modern contexts, illustrating how environmental policies like privatization can exacerbate social divides. Additionally, I will emphasize the need for sustainable development to integrate both environmental and social justice. Well, let's begin with water privatization and marginalized communities. The impact of water privatization is disproportionately felt by marginalized communities, as they often lack the financial resources to cope with rising costs. Then, in Bolivia, prices increased up to 200% after privatization. In some regions, making it unaffordable and very hard for many families to keep going forward. The film illustrates the real-life impact on families like Daniel's. These ones are directly affected by these policies, highlighting the human cost of economic decisions. Marginalized communities are not just victims, they are leaders in resistance. Rather than being just mere victims, marginalized communities often take on leadership roles in resistance movements, advocating for their rights and challenging unjust policies. Let's begin with environmental policy leads to social inequality. Environmental decisions reflect power dynamics. For example, in the film, this dynamic is illustrated through the lens of water privatization, where decisions are made without considering the needs of the poorest people. Water is treated as a commodity, not a human right. This shift has a deep effects on communities, as seen in the film, which depicts water as a resource to be bought and sold rather than being a fundamental right, how it should be. Poor neighborhoods pay a higher percentage of income for water. In Bolivia, this privatization of water led to the poorer neighborhoods to face high costs. This difference highlights how people with these environmental policies can exacerbate existing social inequalities. The film compares colonial exploitation to modern economic exploitation. And the film draws parallels between historical colonial exploitation and contemporary economic practices. Just as indigenous peoples suffered under colonial rule, modern day exploitation continues through policies that prioritize profit over people. And then, marginalized groups face the highest environmental risks. Marginalized groups, including indigenous communities, often bear front of environmental crises due to systemic neglect and exploitation. Homeless communities suffers by violence and loss of livelihood. In the film, this community experiences direct violence and loss of livelihood due to privatization of water resources. In the film, Cruz privilege protects them from consequences. While documenting the struggles of the local communities, remain insulated from the consequences of the environmental policies they depict. The privilege highlights the disparity in how environmental crises affect different societal groups. Sustainable development needs social justice. Well, it encompasses not only environmental preservation, but also the equitable distribution of resources and opportunities among all social groups. Ignoring equity leads to conflict. And when equity is ignored in development efforts, it often leads to social unrest and conflicts, as marginalized communities may feel excluded from the benefits of progress. Costa's realization symbolizes accountability. Throughout the film, Costa's journey towards understanding his role in the exploitation of marginalized communities serves as a reminder that those in power must take accountability for their actions and decisions. True sustainability requires a holistic approach that safeguards not just the environment but also the rights of and livelihoods of vulnerable populations. Well, finally, and a conclusion for this is that through this course I have learned that sustainability is not only about managing natural resources, it's also about understanding how power, inequality, and environmental policies interact. Even the rain helped me see these concepts come alive. Everything we studied about water privatization, environmental injustice, and the disproportionate burdens placed of marginalized groups became visible in Bolivia's water war. These lessons deepened my ethical and critical understanding of sustainability by showing me that environmental issues cannot be separated from social structures. And I want to end with another quote that is, knowledge becomes transformation when we stop, reflect, and decide to act differently. That is the true power of metacognition in sustainability. These are my references, and thank you.